Hey y'all. Hey y'all, I am Mazelleğ. On my channel, I aim to educate African Americans who have the desire to travel to or move to Ghana in order to successfully assimilate into the Ghanaian way of life. And I would like to empower those African Americans' mindset in order to successfully connect to the Ghanaian culture, the Ghanaian people, and the country of Ghana. So, welcome to my channel. To share 3 video clips. These video clips are showing African American women who are sharing horrible experiences that they have gone through while in Ghana. Now, I'm not here to judge these women. I'm only here to dig into their experiences and speak my 2 cents on it. So let's take a look at these video clips.
The majority of the African Americans or Black Americans who are moving to Ghana specifically are single Black women. They were saying like how our women come there and they're behaving in a way.
Yeah. So a rumor or an idea can easily spread because this is a collective community and they're very close knit and they kind of all think like one people.
Group thing.
Like, I feel so unprotected here as a foreigner. They're going to take his side, even if it's a man and a woman. It's all about money for them. And it's I don't know. Like, honestly, I see Ghanaian people as spiritually bankrupt. And the way she got out of it is that she, because when you sense you're in danger, you can do a few things. You can fight, flight, fawn, or foe. You can do 4 things. Yeah. So she fawned him. She turned him into a friend. And how she did it is that she turned on her femininity.
Yeah.
So I really took that to heart. Because I don't feel safe turning on my femininity around a whole bunch of men that have very fragile egos.
Yeah.
That makes me want to be more masculine because I don't feel safe.
So we go back and forth. I'm trying to get away from this guy. I'm trying to like release myself and he just won't let go. And by this time I'm focused on getting away. And so he's saying something, but I don't hear it because I'm trying to get free. And then I saw the more aggressive I got, the more aggressive he got. So I changed the tactic. I smiled, I became more feminine, and I looked at his hand and I said, "Why are your fingertips purple?" Folks, all his fingertips were purple. I don't know what that means. All I know, I'm thinking, your hands are dirty and you're touching me? That's ew. So he looks down at his hands and he looks slightly shocked and then he lets go of me.
So it saddens me to hear these horrible experiences that these African American women went through. I definitely sympathize with them. It's bad enough to get assaulted in the US, but to get assaulted in a country that you don't know anything about, you don't know the processes, you don't know how to go about getting things happen to the perpetrators, definitely can be an even more difficult situation. So I sympathize with them all the way around. But that brings me to what I'm going to be discussing in my video today, and that is that African American women are not mentally prepared to move to Ghana. When I watch videos on social media about African American women moving, whether they're moving with somebody or whether they're moving by themselves, a lot of times the focus is on financially preparing themselves. They want to make sure that their money is going to sustain them. They want to make sure that they have a place to stay. They want to make sure if they have a business venture going on that's being taken care of. But one of the things that's not really stressed, one of the things that's not really mentioned is preparing yourself to be a woman in Ghana. That is just as important, or if not as important, as being financially prepared. Because being a woman in Ghana is different from being a woman in the US. And I see these African American women going to Ghana with the same type of mentality that they're used to in the US, and realize that it doesn't work in Ghana. And they are met with just difficulties and barriers and they have no idea how to work through it. And they take to social media to voice their complaints about the situation. And the one thing that just keeps going on and on in my mind is that they're not mentally prepared. In the US, from when we are girls, we are learned how to move through the US. Whether or not you live in a small town, whether or not you live in a big city, you're always told how to move within the American society as a woman. We're told that if you're walking out at night, you need to be careful. You need to have your keys out. You need to be observant. If you go in a group, you leave in a group. You don't leave with strange men. You are careful who you hold your conversation with. If you go to the club and you have a drink, don't leave your drink around. I mean, there's a lot of precautions that people tell us, mothers tell us, aunties tell us, grandparents tell us, whoever tells us, so that we can be extra safe in the US. We're taught how to be women in the US. Now, of course, we're not going into how things have definitely changed as far as women go, but I'm talking about in the traditional sense, we are taught how to move as women in the US. What does that look like? Because women in the US move differently from women in other countries, and that's just a fact. It's not abnormal to see women running businesses in the US. It's not abnormal to see women being realtors, being the one responsible for doing the business when it comes to buying land or selling land. You have women that are CEOs. It is not abnormal to do business with women in the US. It's not abnormal. So when women are doing these business ventures or they're trying to do business things in the US and they're in these spaces, it's not abnormal to see women in these spaces. It's not abnormal to see women making decisions. And it's definitely normal for you to see independent women doing things on their own. They don't feel like they have to have a man to do anything for them, because most of the time in the US, a woman can pretty much function by themselves in some form or fashion most of the time. She can pretty much do things on her own. She can take care of her business. She doesn't have to have a man to do the business for her. So women in the US are taught that if you don't have a man, you are able to independently do whatever you need to do. Not all countries are that way. And so when you go to other countries, you have to learn, how are the women moving there? Because a country's not going to change just because you decide to move to that country. You have to learn how to adjust to being a woman in wherever country that you're going to. And for African Americans, that's difficult for them to do in Ghana. That's difficult for them to actually be a woman in Ghana, learn how to be a woman in Ghana, learn how to adjust being a woman in Ghana so that things will be easier for them. What they're doing is they're trying to bring American ways to Ghana as far as how they do their dealing with people. And they're finding that these things are not working in their favor. It is not a secret that Ghana is still a patriarchal society. We all know that. You can go there and you can see that. There are some matrilineal values within the country, but a lot of the businesses, a lot of the dealings, a lot of the political offices are still ran by men. And so since that's the case, as an African American woman, then you have to learn how to navigate that space as a woman if it is possible. So how are you going to do that as an African American woman? How are you supposed to do that? And I will answer that question by saying this. Talking to and connecting to Ghanaian women. When I hear people talk on social media, they're always talking about the Ghanaian men. They're the ones supposedly scamming them. They're the ones taking advantage of them. Of course, they're the ones assaulting them. Some of the Ghanaian men are the one doing all these so-called negative things to you, but I haven't heard a lot of the African American women say how are they involving the Ghanaian women and helping them to navigate being a woman in Ghana. Because if anybody is going to help you be able to navigate through Ghana as a woman, it would be Ghanaian women. They know how things work. They know how to do the business. If you want to do business, they know how to do all of that. And most of them probably will say, I'm not going to say all of them, but most of them probably will say that it is always a good idea to have a Ghanaian man with you, if possible, doing some dealings, doing the business for you, because they can speak on your behalf. It's difficult enough for Ghanaian women to really do business and, be in those spaces where men are. It's difficult for them to be in those spaces as Ghanaian women. But I think African American women have the notion just because you're coming with money, just because that you're coming with business, means that they're automatically going to be respectful towards you, means they're all automatically going to think highly of you. There are some Ghanaian men that definitely are not going to do that. They are going to treat you like they would a Ghanaian woman. They're going to treat you like someone who might not know how the business goes. They might feel like they can take advantage of you. They could feel like they can scam you. They could feel like that they could assault you, because these are things that happen to Ghanaian women. And it's not that they hate women, which I heard somebody say that, heard the woman in the clip say it. It's not that they hate women. It is just that it has been taught in their country that men, what they say, what they do, how they run things, trump women. And that's how their country is. That's a patriarchal society. That's what that is. And so African American women have to accept the fact that that's the type of society that Ghana is. And you're not there to change it. You're not there, like the lady said in that first video, to judge it. You are there to realize this is the way it is. So now how can I navigate through it? How can I navigate through this without it becoming an issue for me? And how you can navigate through it is to involve Ghanaian women in order for them to be your resources, in order for them to be your sources as far as how do they do it. When I hear some African American women speak about Ghanaian women, they always speak about them as if they are weak-minded women who are just running around Ghana doing nothing, I guess. I don't really know what they think Ghanaian women are doing, but they don't speak very highly about them. And it's like, unless you've had a conversation with a Ghanaian woman, you have no idea what kind of life she leads, how she interacts with society, how she moves within the country. You have no idea. You're basing it on what you feel like she is, not really what she is. I definitely will encourage any African American woman who is planning on going to Ghana to watch When Women Speak, which I will put in the description box. When Women Speak. It's a documentary on Ghanaian women and how they fought for their rights from the beginning of Ghana becoming an independent nation. And I'm talking about these women were fighters. Ghanaian women are fighters. And being in a patriarchal society is very difficult, because that means that you have to fight for your rights when it comes to a lot of things. And in Ghana, with it being used to being ran by men, decisions made by men, the Ghanaian women had to, find ways for their voices to be heard and for the society to take them seriously enough to listen enough for them to say, let these changes be made. A woman in the documentary was saying that at one point in Ghana, you had to ask your husband to get consent to get a passport. And so she needed to get a passport. They told her that she had to have her husband's consent. And she was like, what? Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting my husband's consent for a passport. Like, I need my passport. And so the person at the office said, well, that's how it's always been. And she said, well, it needs to change. And they changed it. So the documentary basically just tells fascinating stories and experiences that these Ghanaian women went through in order for them to get the rights that they have now. Of course, like everywhere where else, there is still a lot to go in Ghana when it comes to the rights of women. But Ghanaian women did not sit idly and just not do anything. And so it's a good documentary to see because it puts things into perception, and it also allows you to see the fighting spirit of Ghanaian women. It's a must. It's a must as African American women to know how it is to be a woman in Ghana. And the only people that's going to be able to help you with that is Ghanaian women. If you go to Ghana and you go to the marketplaces, it's majority women that's running those marketplaces. Those huge marketplaces where they sell food and stuff, like it's women running those places. You go to the hair shops and things like that, those are women running those shops. So, I mean, there's entrepreneurship going on in Ghana when it comes to women. Women are definitely, they're doing better with trying to be a part of some political, in the political environment as well. And so they are doing what's necessary to continue to improve the rights of women in Ghana. But it's important that African American women know that fight so that when you get there, you will understand and you're not going to get frustrated, because you will say, it is not because I'm an African American woman for the reason why I'm being treated this way. It is because I'm a woman in Ghana. Now, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to sit on social media and complain about everything that's happening? Or am I going to go to somebody and actually talk to somebody, a Ghanaian woman, and say, hey, I'm going through this. Can you help me out here? What's really going on? So that they can tell you, girl, this is normal and this is how we deal with it. I've had a couple of people in my lifetime always ask me, how was I able to make it as a woman married to a Ghanaian man? I mean, I don't know when I became the guru, but anyway. And I tell them, I give credit to my late mother-in-law who helped me along the way of learning how to be married to a Ghanaian man, number one. Number two, understanding how to be a woman in Ghana. What you can and cannot do, what's going to be acceptable and what's not going to be acceptable. What do you have to do, what do you don't have to do? I mean, whenever questions I had, I always asked her. She would always let me know. I still have my sister-in-law as well, who has definitely taught me some things too. She probably doesn't realize it, but I'm very observant in how she interacts with in her relationship and in her marriage. And when she goes home, I'm very observant. I know my husband probably doesn't think that I'm looking and learning because I don't ask questions. I'm very observant. And so that's how I learn best, is observing. And if I have a question, I will ask. So most of the time I am looking at the women. I am seeing what they're doing. Hey, this is what's going on right now. So I'm aware of how I should move when I go to Ghana. I don't want to make it seem as though I'm better than the Ghanaian women. And I actually had that type of mindset when I first went to Ghana. And I remember vividly, a woman was washing my clothes. And I remember snarling my nose up like, is this how y'all washing my clothes or whatever? And she was just like, what's the problem? Is there an issue? And I learned then how sometimes as African American women, we can be judgmental and we don't know it. It's unconsciously that way as Americans, to go somewhere and feel like our way is the better way, because a lot of times that's the only way we know. But don't realize that this is how other people are living, and we can't judge somebody else's lifestyle. You can't critique somebody else's lifestyle if that's the way they live. And so I stopped doing that, and I started learning and looking and you know, really retaining all that, so that every time I go, I make sure that I am adjusting for that time. I no longer wear shorts in Ghana anymore. Like I've stopped doing that because I know that's not something that's normal. You don't really see women my age wearing shorts. Like you don't see really hardly any women at all wearing shorts at all. So I'm making an effort not to do that. And you know, wear pants, wear longer shorts that are covering up my legs. The last time I had on some Bermuda shorts with rips in it, and I felt so out of place, and I thought, well, I will not be wearing those anymore. Me and my daughter both just observing, just with dressing, to know, okay, this is how people are dressing, this is how the women are dressing, let me make sure that I'm being observant. And so every time I go, I try to adjust even more, because I know it's going to be a time where I'm going to be there, and I have to know what I'm doing. And it is scary. As an African American woman, it's scary. It's scary to adjust. But it is possible to adjust by looking, observing, asking, and getting connected to a Ghanaian woman to see how things are. How does things work here? So that you won't find yourself like these ladies in horrible situations and horrible experiences. It's not their fault, and I'm not blaming them for anything that has happened. But I do feel like that when you understand how to be a woman in Ghana, just like in the US, that nothing's 100%. It's not like that just going to keep you from stuff happening to you, but it's definitely precautionary measures. If you learn how to be a woman in Ghana, it's a precautionary measure. If you know that these things, a Ghanaian woman wouldn't even put herself in these situations, then you know not to put yourself in that situation. If you know a Ghanaian woman is not going to be involved in this type of businesses, then you know not to get involved in these type of businesses. It's good for you to learn how to be a woman in Ghana so that you can navigate your life in a way that makes that adjustment in Ghana a little easier. So that's it. I mean, that's basically all I have to say on that. All right, I am Michelle Mazelleغ. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.